Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? Got another Rams update here for you. March 3rd, 2025. Going to touch on a few news items and circle back to a couple of other things as well. But before we get started, now on the podcast, this is episode 676. So I want to talk about a player who wore number 76, and there were some good ones. Orlando Pace, of course. But this time around, I am going to talk about one of the fearsome foursome defensive linemen, Rosie Grier, traded to the Rams in 1963, started his career with the Giants. So he comes over to LA and joins Lamar Lundy, Merlin Olsen, and Deacon Jones, the greatest defensive line ever. And he had quite a career off the football field as well. He went on to host the Rosie Grier Show, and he was a bodyguard for Robert F. Kennedy. And he was there the night the presidential candidate was assassinated. He was not guarding RFK at the moment. He was responsible for Ethel Kennedy. And as he recounted later on, he heard the shots, went over and helped subdue Sirhan. And after that, he went on to make over 70 television guest appearances. And he was quite the singer as well, recorded for several major labels. And as he liked to tell everybody, he was, I guess, a pretty good needle pointer as well. Rosie Grier, a great defensive lineman, one of the great Los Angeles Rams, and man, quite a resume off the football field as well. Now, wanted to get into some news here. We all heard about Deebo Samuel getting traded. He went over to the Commanders for a fifth-round pick, and as others commented, surprised that the Commanders didn't target Cooper Kupp. Maybe they just didn't think he was a fit, or maybe they did try to make the trade and they couldn't figure it out. But I think they were targeting Deebo Samuel. And if you look at the numbers, both these guys, their production has declined, but Cooper Kupp was the better receiver statistically last year. So let's look at these stats, the tail of the tape. Deebo, 61 catches for 670 yards and 3 TDs. Cooper Kupp, 67 catches, 710 yards, and 6 TDs. So Deebo had a slightly better average, 13.1 to 10.6 for Cooper Kupp. And Deebo also had 136 rushing yards, a 3.2 average. But, so he goes over to the Commanders for a fifth-round pick. And, that's a big cap hit still for the 49ers, $31 million dead cap numbers for 2025. Now, if Cooper Kupp is traded pre-June 1st, it will be a $17 million savings for the Rams, but still a $12 million dead cap hit. Now, if anything, though, this may have increased Kupp's value if there are teams out there, and there are rumors that teams like the Steelers and Texans might have been interested in Deebo and or Kupp. So maybe the value just went up for Cooper Kupp. But I still have a feeling the Rams may end up just releasing him outright and get nothing in return. I think the salary cap numbers will be very similar. Is there a chance he could return still? I suppose, but it's not looking good. We'll see how this plays out. But Deebo Samuel to the Commanders, and John Lynch saying, hey, we've taken calls on Brandon Ayuk and we're listening to them. And I don't think you should get too I don't think you should overreact to this, the fact that they're listening to the calls. I think if you're a general manager, as Lynch said, if someone's calling, you're going to listen. Does that mean they're trying to move on from Brandon Ayuk? Not necessarily, but I think it's pretty clear that there's winds of change in San Francisco. They still have that Purdy contract to deal with as well. And speaking of trades, it's kind of clickbait, silly trade season on the World Wide Web. And what did I see? I saw one proposed trade, Cooper Kupp for Jari Alexander of the Packers. I think there are some draft picks mixed in here. And then there was another one, Cooper Kupp and a sixth rounder to the Steelers for a third and fourth rounder. I think the fourth rounder was the following year. Nah, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't, especially the Steelers trade. The Rams would be very fortunate to get a third and fourth rounder. Despite what I just said, the trade value has gone up for sure. This trade is not happening, though. Be extremely surprised. But hey, did I click on these stories? Yeah, I did. But the reason I did, I'm digging for content. I didn't really think that I certainly didn't think that clicking on these stories was going to be just a truckload of information and solid rumors that we can latch on to, things that are going to necessarily happen for our Rams with regards to Cooper Kupp. Just clickbait, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Bobby Brown, not looking good as far as his return to the Rams. I had listed the nose tackle position as an area of concern because Brown might leave. And there was a Rams reporter that posted something to the effect of, Bobby Brown, great run stopper. And it got Bobby a little spun up. And I'm quoting here, as much as I like this post, I don't, because I'm more than a run defender. Just never on the field, and that's all I'm going to say on that. So he's not happy, and I put Tutu Atwell and Hunter Long in the category of guys that if I were them, I'd be looking elsewhere, someplace where I'm going to be able to, get on the field more, get more snaps, make more money. That's what it's all about, right? And maybe we missed it, but Bobby Brown, I guess, feels the same way. A little disenchanted with his snap counts with the Los Angeles Rams. So it's not looking good for his return. And interestingly, on this post, there were a lot of Bengal fans all over bringing Bobby Brown over to the Bengals. Not sure what that's about. But hey, maybe the Bengals need a run stopper. Just don't tell Bobby you're looking for a run stopper. Tell him, hey, we're looking for a 3-down defender. Come on over, Bobby Brown. So this will be a big loss for the Rams, I think. Tyler Davis steps into a bigger role, and the Rams are going to have to go out and find another big defensive tackle in the draft or free agency if this all comes to pass. Kind of a bummer. On the other hand, Demarcus Robinson on the Rams Instagram account, I think this is where it was, basically posting, "Re-sign me." So there's the other side of it. Demarcus Robinson wants to come back to Los Angeles, and I think I came out and said he's the next domino to fall if this goes the Rams' way. Stafford, Alaric Jackson, next up, Demarcus Robinson. We have 3 Rams wide receivers on this roster come the first day of the new league year. And I have no problem with drafting another rookie, but drafting 2 rookies to fill out this wide receiver room does not make sense to me. Bringing back DeMarcus would make a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of veteran wide receivers out there. I don't know, man. I think DeMarcus is the guy we should be trying to bring back into the fold, and I hope we can. So the other day, I talked about the dilemma the Rams are facing, not having a second-round pick, and I did a little experiment for those of you on the podcast, audio only. What I'm displaying here is 3 mock drafts. I didn't do full-blown mock drafts. What I did was I did not make any trades. I made a first-round pick, and it's somewhat irrelevant, but in this case, in all 3 of these cases, I ran 3 mock drafts. All 3 cases, I selected a defensive back, and then I let it fly and took a look to see who was available on the board if we did not trade back into the second. We made that trade last year, giving up our second-round pick to have the opportunity to draft Braden Fisk, and this kind of highlights the dilemma. And for those of you that can't see this very well, or you're listening on the podcast, what I'm showing here is the guys available when the Rams make that second pick of theirs, number 90 overall, barring a trade, who would be left on the board? Well, in the first example, I'd be okay with Carson Schlesinger, but I don't think the Rams will be. Linebacker out of UCLA. The defensive tackle I've talked a little bit about, Deion Walker, is available, big guy out of Kentucky, and Savion Williams, the wide receiver. And then in the second example, got a few wide receivers available, Jack Besh, Jaden Higgins, and Savion Williams again. And we've talked about all three of those guys quite a bit. I think we'd love any one of them. And then Schlesinger again, and then the cornerback, Darian Porter. And in the third example, Slimmer Pickens, Savion Williams, a wide receiver, once again. So he's available in all three examples. And then the cornerback, Darian Porter again. So if you're looking at this, maybe wide receiver is worth waiting for in the third round, but still a little bit risky. Just highlights the fact that not having to pick between 26 and 90 is going to be a little bit dicey for Les Snead and Sean McVay. Hey, but they've come away with pretty good drafts without a first round pick at all. But having a second round pick, I just don't like it. They need a second round pick pretty badly, in my opinion. Next up, I have some combine takeaways. I wanted to talk about four guys, three of them guys that I have talked about previously. Remember several weeks ago, I talked about change of pace running backs, and that was in a response to a handful of Ram fans on the YouTube channel been clamoring for something other than a Kyren Williams clone, not a Kyren Williams, Blake Corum stand-in, a change of pace running back that can go the distance on any handoff. And one of the guys we talked about was Baishul Tutin, running back out of Virginia Tech. And boy, he stole the show at the combine as far as the drills go. The fastest time, the best vertical jump, and almost took the crown in the broad jump as well. So he's a guy that a lot of eyes are going to be on him. If you're looking for a speedster, Tutin may be the guy. And another guy that I had actually mocked to the Rams at least once, I think twice, cornerback Jadi Barron out of Texas. And one of the reasons I liked him, well, two reasons I like him. One, he's a big-time, prime-time player, makes splash plays all day long. And the other thing, at least so I thought, is he's versatile, can play cornerback and perhaps safety because he's also a good hitter, good tackler. But the word on the street on him now, coming out of the combine, only 5'11", under 200 pounds, maybe a limit to a slot cornerback, a nickel back in the cornerback position, could still play safety, but maybe not on the outside, has the speed, extremely fast, as he showed at the combine, but maybe not the size. So there may be some limitations there. Still a really good football player, a guy I would be extremely happy with. And then there's Matthew Golden. Now, he's a wide receiver out of Texas, and his teammate, Isaiah Bond, had boasted that he was going to break Xavier Worthy's record in the 40, and it was actually Matthew Golden that stole the show. He didn't break Worthy's record, but he was the fastest wide receiver. And, Bond wasn't too far behind, but it was Golden. Now, Golden, he ran a 4.29, by the way. Bond, a 4.39, comes in at 5'11", 191 pounds. So he's not the prototypical size of a Rams wide receiver. But you know who is, and climbing back up the boards, Luther Burden, the Missouri wide receiver, 6 feet 206, and he's back in the first round with a lot of folks. So I'm not sure which one of these guys is going to go first. I'd lean towards Golden. Again, you want someone not in the Kyren Williams mold at running back, and maybe we don't want someone in the Cooper Kupp, Jordan Whittington, Puka Nacua mold at wide receiver. So you go with a guy like Golden that can really stretch the field. Burden, a little higher rated on NFL.com. He comes in with a 6.47 ranking by Lance Zierlein. Golden slightly behind him at 6.40. Hey, you just take the player you want when they're that closely ranked. The one that's going to give you what you're looking for, and hopefully the Rams are looking for a little more speed at that position. And the other guy I wanted to talk about, now I hadn't really been considering tackle since we drafted re-signed Alaric Jackson, I should say. Certainly not a high priority. I could still see them drafting a tackle if they love somebody. And the guy they may love is Armand Membo. And he's probably the third ranked tackle at this point. 6'4", 332. But if you watched him in those drills, man, what an athlete. And I know game tape is more important, but you got to go back and watch this guy. I don't watch a ton of the combine, but the tape I saw on him coming out of Indianapolis, pretty darn impressive. This is a guy that's working his way up the draft board. Now, the issue with all four of these guys, probably all four of them will be there when the Rams pick. Maybe not, but two or three of them probably will. And I don't think any of them are going to be there when the Rams pick at number 90 in the third round. Tootin will likely be gone. Could last, running backs. There's a lot of them in this draft, so maybe he slides a little bit. This is just a really strong running back draft. Barron, if teams get scared by his limitations, not being able to play on the outside, maybe could drop. Maybe not. Probably not. And that is the dilemma, going back to the draft dilemma for the Rams. Who's going to be there at 90? And these are four guys that really did themselves some good. And I think Burden did as well. Yeah, I wanted to mention one more thing here. Paul Walia has stepped aside for now anyways. Hopefully he may come back. If you're listening, Paul, you know where to find us. But for now, Paul will not be joining us on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. Quite the bummer. He just has some other responsibilities he's taking care of. But he is always welcome. And what we're going to be doing to fill the void is, we've identified some friends of the show over the last year or so, and we'll be inviting these gentlemen back on occasion to fill the void. Now, Ian, of course, will be a big part of the show, as always. He'll be leading the charge on the YouTube channel, especially during the season. But, Scott Richmond, he's a guy that knows a lot of the college players. He's really valuable as we head towards the draft. Payo Time, he has his own Canadian YouTube channel, and he's just lots of fun. He can come on this show anytime he wants. Tom Quartz is a guy that helped get this podcast and YouTube channel rolling back in the early days. He'll come back once in a while. And then two guys that originally joined us on the Rappin' with Ram Fans segments, Ernest Salgado, John Capotorto, and Forbode Turanian. And I've talked to all three of these guys. I know Ernesto will come back whenever I ask, and John and Forbode will be coming on occasionally as well. So just a heads up on that. We still want to keep the Rams fans rap sessions going. So any of you out there that want to join us, you don't need to know anything about football. You just need to be a Rams fan. Come on and talk Rams football with us for 20, 30 minutes. It's a load of fun. And we find out, we really enjoy reaching out and discovering these Ram fans all across the country, really, and even in other countries. So we want to keep that rolling. But these friends of the show, they'll be joining us quite often, hopefully, moving forward. That's all I got for now. Not a lot of news. Free agency are fast approaching. Hopefully, we'll have some news between now and the 12th, at the end of the league year. Maybe the Rams will re-sign some of these free agents, some of their own free agents, starting with, hopefully, Demarcus Robinson. Out here from Rams Up.